September the 11th, 1952, morning. Cast of characters, 5 to close the files with. One Latin American to be known as Cholo Martinez, wanted by local and federal agents on both sides of the international border, from the Gulf of California to the Rio Grande. One neurotic mother, one very tired stepfather, and one 19-year-old girl whom we shall call Cassandra Lee, an arrested narcotic case with an 18-month history of heroin addiction. And one police officer, myself, Lieutenant David Jason, City Police Department Narcotics Division. It wasn't until sometime later that morning that I was able to account for the girl's sudden change in behavior. Cassandra hadn't seen Martinez since the day he disappeared in the desert north of the Mexican border close to 3 months ago, nor had anyone else. His appearance now was unaccounted for. Why Martinez did show at this particular time and place, only he or perhaps the girl could say, or any other pair of young addicts who had experienced what these two had in recent months. Martinez was still very much at large, but the Lee girl was now involved in the legal process of being transferred to the Federal Narcotic Hospital in Kentucky as a ward of the juvenile court. I'd been on Cassandra's case from the very beginning. It didn't take too much imagination to figure out who it might be that was tailing us to the station.
Code Narco Red.
Miguel Martinez, alias Choro, 5'7", 140, of Mexican origin. 37 Ford sedan, south on 42nd Street. Destination Southern Pacific Station. Approach with caution, he may be armed. Miguel Martinez, alias Choro, 5'7", 140, of Mexican.
Under the circumstances, there was some question as to whether Cassandra would try to make a move to alert Martinez, so I kept her close to me. She now had sufficient reason to hate Martinez, but I still couldn't be sure of what she might do if he got close to us again. Addicts have a strange code of ethics. Somewhere between the time of arrival and departure of the Eastbound Limited that day, the police department would officially close out the file on the Lee girl's case, writing off 3 years of Cassandra's turbulent past. motorcycles were a part of Cassandra's turbulent past. I didn't get the connection at first, but then I began to recall the first implicating circumstances in the girl's case, a little over 3 years ago. It began in the summer of 1949, several weeks before school started. That summer, Cassandra worked as a stock girl in her mother's small downtown place of business. Across the alley, there was a motorcycle repair shop. It was here that Cassandra first became acquainted with Russell Packard and his motorcycle pals. A fast bunch of kids all suffering in various degrees from the same kind of emotional insecurity that Cassandra had been afflicted with during a lifetime of being bounced from the knee of one stepfather to another by a much-married mother. Mrs. Lee's lack of sympathy for the problems of the teenage personality, coupled with the frustration of knowing that she had somehow failed Cassandra as a mother, fomented emotional situations between mother and daughter that played havoc with the emotional stability of both. An offer of sanctuary, unreasonable tirades of reprimand in the presence of her peers. A spur-of-the-moment decision, the beginning of a dangerous gang association. Later that same day, at an old abandoned stadium just outside of town, Cassandra encountered one of the most damaging aspects of many of today's youthful gang associations. Reefers, marijuana, one of the lesser narcotics whose use often constitutes the first faltering step toward addiction to the harder drugs. And now, as the newest member of this gang of kids to whom the use of marijuana had become the big-time thing, Cassandra found herself the target of one of the most devastating social pressures existing among our teenage population today: conformity to the group pattern. Passing up the reefer meant passing up the gang's bid to really belong. Her refusal to conform would place her in the precarious social position of being with the group, yet outside of its circle of confidence. During her next few weeks with the gang, Cassandra was more or less regarded with suspicion and subjected to subtle ridicule. But she managed to hang on by sticking close to Packard. She rode with the gang, but always somewhat apart from the group, having as yet failed to gain their confidence. With the passing of time, Cassandra became more accustomed to the kids and their use of marijuana, but never to the feeling of being an outsider. The adolescent personality demands and needs to belong. To belong meant conformity to the group's pattern of behavior. By the end of the following school year, Cassandra's personality had undergone a gradual yet drastic change. She'd become irritable, reticent, and pointedly antisocial. Old friends that she'd once palled with at school now made a practice of going out of their way to avoid her. That is, all but one, a kid by the name of Johnny Adams, the boy who was always seen waiting to take Cassandra home each day after school. Johnny was the fall guy who refused to believe that she had somehow changed. But then, Johnny was perhaps the only person in Cassandra's young life who had a genuine regard and affection for the girl. So Johnny waited. When the last day of school rolled around in May of that year, Cassandra was still flying high, but her scholastic average during her last year of high school had fallen to its all-time low. The possibility of college, which had once counted on heavily as an avenue of escape from home and family, was now completely out of the question. Her school days were behind her, and Cassandra was frightened. But there was an out. Johnny was still waiting. Long ago, Cassandra had learned that she could always run to Johnny when things closed in. But time was running out fast, and so was Johnny. Graduating from school with top honors, young Adams had a job with a future waiting for him. And with the blessing of both families, Cassandra's in particular, Johnny had never made a secret of the fact that he wanted Cassandra to someday be a part of that future. Cassandra's situation called the play. She was now determined that that certain someday should be soon, and June was just around the corner. Emotionally immature and badly maladjusted, Cassandra was ill-prepared for the adjustments and routine responsibilities of married life. By midsummer, her young husband had become the innocent focal point of the girl's accumulated apathy and resentment. In spite of the sedatives prescribed by her physician, Cassandra had for some weeks now been riding the crest of a nervous breakdown. Aware only of the fact that recently his young bride had not been well, Johnny had little insight as to the emotional nature and background of her condition, and with the passing of time was finding it increasingly difficult to account for her frequent displays of mood and temper. Johnny's family physician had diagnosed Cassandra's problem as one of post-marital adjustment. His panacea was a few words of wisdom and a bottle of sleeping pills. Johnny's solution to the problem was equally superficial, being based upon Cassandra's habitual complaint of boredom during the long hours of the day while he was at work. The novelty of owning and caring for a dog did absorb a great deal of Cassandra's time and attention during the next few weeks. But Johnny's dog, like the doctor's sleeping pills, was hardly the answer to Cassandra's problem. Deep within this girl's emotional makeup was an impelling fury of discontent that was immune to medications and momentary diversions of interest.